as I was saying, we have a video here titled Why I Quit Final Fantasy XIV from Lokidum. This video was brought to my attention because I saw that Brian from Ginger Prime reacted to it, and I was like, huh, I'm curious. And this video also reinforces a point about another thing that I want to talk about later in the stream, which is this notion that a lot of people have. Oh, did I miss the bunny fit? I did. This notion that a lot of people have that they have to play just like one game as opposed to enjoying multiple games. But we'll talk about that later. Now I just want to focus on this. And let me also lower the game volume so that it doesn't interfere with the actual video.
Final Fantasy XIV. My old stomping grounds. It's been a while, hasn't it? Endwalker loading screen. Shadowbringers one was still better, but I digress. Players in queue. 16. Well, at least we're past the days of 16,000. And what better place to load back in than in Ul'dah? That's the place where it all started for me. 2 and something years ago. Loki actually logged in? Wow, it's only been like a month. Come on. 9 months. It's been 9 months.
That's a child. That's a child.
Huh? Wait, that can't be right. I only took January off. Like, what? Oh. Shit. Guess I gotta explain that one.
Why I quit Final Fantasy XIV. Okay.
Hey everyone. My name's Lokidum and welcome to another video. A heavily delayed one, I will admit. A point
So
that
it's
is underscored
Lokidum.
by the fact
Okay.
that I have said at multiple points over the past 9 months that I would be working on such a video, only for even more time to pass, in which the channel has seen absolutely nothing uploaded to it or even a post in the community tab. Many others in this situation, making a video after disappearing for months on end, may begin by saying they're sorry. Well, I'm really not one of them. And frankly, I'm not sorry in the slightest. I simply did what I saw as being in my best interest and what I wanted to do. In this case, as you can tell from the title of this video, I quit Final Fantasy XIV months ago now. It was an idea that was in the back of my head for quite a long time, and
It's important to, I'm curious to see how he defines it, but it's also important to know that there's a big difference between quitting and taking a break. A lot of times you just take long breaks. Like, I take breaks from 14 from time to time. I think that's fine. I think it's healthy. Take a break. Play another game. It's good. There's a lot of them.
one day I just simply logged out, canceled my sub, and never looked back. About 7 months ago, I reduced my playing time to only being twice a week when my static met and we raided together, and after that I completely went cold turkey about 5 months ago, and in a lot of ways put my life back together. Weird words for a just about to turn 17-year-old kid to say, but ones that to me at least are true. This video was something I wanted to do since about when I cut the amount of time I played down drastically, and hasn't happened for many different reasons at many points since then. But as I finally feel the urge to step back into making videos, because despite everything, I really miss the creative process of that, I feel like I needed to give an explanation for the months of silence to my already somewhat established audience, and especially the group within them that actually did care about me and the videos I made. So here we are. Over the remainder of the video, I'll be going over many of the reasons I decided to quit the game that I loved so dearly and given so much of my time to across the pandemic. They'll all be timestamped, and each section is listed up here on screen in case you want to skip ahead to a specific one. But without further ado, let's get started.
Oh, it's going to involve content creation as well. This is good.
The beginning of the end, unsurprisingly, begins with the beginning. Who would have thought that's kinda how beginnings work? I started playing FF14 during the early days of COVID. School had suddenly been canned, everything was closed and I couldn't see anybody, and so I threw myself further into video games, seeking out specifically an MMO to call a virtual home and put lots of my free time into. I found that in Final Fantasy XIV.
This is something that I feel like a lot of people do, which is like they look for social interaction in MMOs. And I think that it can be a healthy thing in moderation. It's very important not to completely let go from other social interactions in your life. Which, to be honest, is something that I've been kind of like slacking in recently. Like, I check in with my friends, but I haven't actually gotten together with my friends in quite some time. But that's been COVID, real life, kids. Like, I've had a lot of stuff on my mind. It's definitely not video games. Most of the time that I'm playing games, I'm like streaming. It's just like if I'm not streaming, very rarely am I actually playing games. But yeah.
And for the next 2 years, I would dedicate nearly every moment of my time that I did have to playing it, as well as at one point beginning to make videos about it. I would often joke as code began to slow down in terms of restrictions and kind of come off the front burner that FF14 is what got me through it, and that it's the reason I didn't even feel affected by the pandemic. I just sat in my room and played more video games, something that a kid who started playing the game at 14 loved the idea of. But that had a cost. One I didn't realize then, but now do. I grew incredibly, and I mean incredibly, reliant on the game for keeping my sanity and entertaining me. It was all I did, sitting in my chair from 7 till half past midnight anytime I could and playing the game. I lived it, I practically breathed it, I dreamt of playing it, and as life began to return to normal and I was expected to return to the standard life of a teenager, I was thrown for a loop, completely out of sorts and still tied to the game. Suddenly, in my self-induced FF14 coma, a good chunk of high school had passed. Any money I'd saved from before the pandemic was gone. I was in a crucial time for school when it came to starting to get things together for college. Yeah. I hadn't really socialized with anyone in person in...
Like, I think a lot of people, like, if you're, I don't know, 25, 30, along that age, if you're of that age range, and you're not someone that actually has to, like, go to school or go to college or, you know, stuff like that, I think a lot of people don't actually realize how badly the pandemic affected younger people. Okay? Because it really fucked with them. All right. Let me tell you, like, I can tell you, for instance, my son, like, he has been so incredibly fucked with because of the pandemic that right now I'm having to give him additional tutoring for 2nd grade. My son is having learning problems due to the way that this fucking pandemic affected everyone. And by the way, I am extremely pissed off about the way that this pandemic was handled by most governments, because, like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything's fine. We don't need to wear masks anymore. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? Everything's fine, motherfucker. What do you mean? COVID hasn't gone anywhere. It's so... Anyway, I don't want to get pulled into a rant about that, but it's like, it was really fucked up for younger people. So I can imagine how for him... There's probably, he says he started playing at around 14. Yeah, I can imagine that being really fucked up, especially because 14 is when schooling is really, like, kicked into high gear. He's in, I don't know, high school, whatever that scholarship level happens to be. But, like, that is a crucial time in your life when you're dealing with, like, advanced mathematical equations. You're probably getting taught about fucking philosophy and all of these concepts that you really need to, like, have good teachers to begin with. You can't just, like, remote study this shit. That's not how it works. That's just straight up not how it works. It does not work well on a remote setting. Not by a long shot. So yeah, I can imagine that he fucked up his life pretty badly if he was, like, pouring most of his time into a video game because there was nothing else to do. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? It's messed up.
What felt like forever, and all I could still think about was the game. I was still a functional human being, don't get me wrong. I wasn't so absorbed that I couldn't get back to the way things were in most regards and push forward, and socializing wasn't an issue since I've always been more on the extroverted side of things, but the game still held quite a weighty hold over me. As time passed, that hold stopped being because I was having a lot of fun with the game, and more because I felt like I had an obligation to it, which ties perfectly into the next reason I left.
The content machine, here it goes. I'm very curious about this.
Do you have any idea how all-consuming making YouTube videos can become over someone's life.
Yes!
When they dream to success making videos when they are given a taste of it.
Yes!
And then how quickly and drastically one can find themselves being jerked around and their mental health controlled by the numbers shown on an arbitrary graph. Because that, and worse, is how...
Let me tell you, I know everything about what you're saying. Oh my God. My mental health is so beyond fucked when it comes to numbers on YouTube and on Twitch. Jesus Christ. Big relate, dude. Especially, like, in your case, you're a teenager, right? The dude's a teenager, and it's like, so this affects your finances, so it affects your ability. I'm assuming at the age of 17, probably still living with his parents or, you know, other relatives. Again, I'm just making assumptions. Maybe you'll go into further details later. So it's like, it's mostly about just like your savings and stuff like that, whether or not you have money to do stuff that you want, you know. In my case, content creation not only fucks with your head because of all of that, but also I have 2 kids. which fucks with your head so much more. It's great, dude. It's great, man. It's like Aunt Susan puts a strap on and goes to town on my eye sockets, bro. Yeah, let's not go any further into that analogy. Video gonna get demonetized big time.
Bad I got when it came to maintaining this channel. When I first started making FF14 videos, it was because I was determined to give YouTube another shot with a far smaller focus on a game that, little did I know, was just about to absolutely explode. I went into making FF14 videos simply because of my love and adoration of the story for the game, and the desire to tell my own stories about things I experienced inside the game that had nothing to do with any pre-established narrative. Both my commentary on the story of the game and weaving narratives about my own adventures were things that I loved. And sure enough, other people began to enjoy those videos too. And before I knew it, my channel had gone from absolutely nothing to well over 1,000 subscribers and making actually a decent amount of money in less than 2 months. It was a dream come true for me. And I would constantly challenge myself to improve the quality of my videos, from the way the scripts were written, the way the videos were edited, the subject of the video and the idea behind it, and basically any other aspect. I grew obsessed with it, continuing to see the growth with each video and consistently high views in comparison to the video that came before, convincing myself that the dream was finally coming true and that it was only up from there.
Nope. Let me tell you, bro, as somebody who's been doing this, what now, 11 years? No, not 11 years, because I started more like in 2007. 2007 is when I actually started doing videos. So 2007, that would have been, what, 15 years? As someone who's been doing this 15 years, even though probably more like 13 to 12 years full time. Yeah, dude, I've seen so many ups and downs in the channels that I have, and it fucks with your mind so badly. It is completely wild. But yeah, it's not just up and up and up and up and up. Nope. Though that path is only for a very select few chosen on YouTube. You don't actually, very few people actually get that path. So yeah. And that does fuck with your mental so much. It's insanity.
Thus, when things began to slow down and then suddenly grind to a halt, it sent me into a spiral.
Yep.
Suddenly, I was constantly trying to recapture that earlier success by making videos almost identical to the ones that had shown me the great success I had before, or trying new ideas or variants of content that—
Dude, I cannot stress how much I relate to this kid. Oh my God, dude. I cannot stress how much I relate to every single thing he's saying. How everything that changes whenever you're making it is so incredibly wild. And I can only imagine like how that affects someone who is much younger than me, how that affects their psyche. It has to be complete insanity.
That could be made in 14 that I was interested in, but it kept falling flat.
Yep.
I was growing conceited and discouraged, and the taxing nature of trying to make a video like I was trying to make a week with everything else going on in my life finally caught up with me. It was also then I realized that my experiences in 14 had been completely changed by making YouTube videos. I was constantly seeking out the next thing to make a video about.
Yep.
Often finding myself leaning into things I really didn't enjoy just to try and get a video out of it.
Yep.
I tried to do new things or new kinds of videos I enjoyed making more, but when those bombed in comparison to the videos I wasn't really having fun making, I chose to continue down the path of making videos I didn't really enjoy and were far less fulfilling to make. For example, I spent nearly a month of my free time working on the Life and Legacy of Shadowbringers video. This was a massive project that I really did love making, but took so much time and then didn't do well in the slightest. Then there was the reading negative FF14 reviews video, something I decided on in the moment during a stream. It quickly compiled and uploaded and did better than almost any other video I'd uploaded in actual months.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Whenever you're talking about like negativity, people love negativity. People can tell you what they want. Everybody loves a good negative video. They adore it. They eat it up. Why do you think drama is so popular among Twitch communities? People love drama, dude. Drama is like one of the biggest sellers whenever it comes to this type of stuff. It is actually insane. You can get so much out of drama. Jesus Christ. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that a video like that would be incredibly successful.
Right before Endwalker released, I was about ready to simply quit everything altogether and throw in the towel, as I'd...
By the way, the audio glitch, he put a text in the video that said it only lasts for about a minute. The tick that you're listening to, that's not on your end, that's on the video's end.
Finally accepted the fact that, for whatever reason, the whole cycle was becoming too much for me. I had become way too invested way too quickly and was paying the price for it.
Yep.
Endwalker's release reinvigorated me for a while, and I decided to take January off from making videos of any kind, and laid out a vast Endwalker coverage content plan and announced it on the community tab. It was actually insane in hindsight. I wanted to record my entire playthrough, edit it down, create narrative style videos. Like, what was in my head was trying to create an Endwalker centric series in the style of those leveling through classic WoW videos that everyone loved, myself included, as well as a million other things. It just didn't happen. Of all of them, only the videos that directly ripped me playing through pieces of the story for the first time actually got uploaded, and those were my last videos from 9 months ago. The rest of it died, with me either never working on it, it staying in the conceptual phases, or ending up as another unfinished script, of which I had many. For quite a stretch there, only 1 in 3 videos I started working on ever actually made it to getting uploaded. And I had 4 absolutely massive projects in the background that I was working on that never saw the light of day. The failure of the Life and Legacy of Shadowbringers video really had a bad effect on my confidence for those massive projects that took as much time as they did, and I stopped working on literally all of them. I regret that now, and I wish I had kept going with them, and maybe one of them will come back at some point in the future, because I really did like the concept and had the groundwork all laid out, but it is what it is. January passed, and I decided I wanted more time of not making videos for my own sake. Then more time passes, and more, and more, and now...
It's also, interestingly enough, as easy as it is for you to fall down the hole of content creation and non-stop creating content, it is also incredibly easy for the exact opposite to happen, particularly if, like, you're not really dependent on it. It is very easy for you to fall off of content creation and then just not want to touch it again. Because for you guys know how a lot of people constantly, they like to make the joke, oh, it's not a real job. Like, a lot of people will say that what I'm doing in terms of like content creation, live streaming and all of this stuff, they'll be like, well, that's not a real job. But, you know, like, a lot of people will go down that road of reasoning. And it's like, if it's not a real job, I'll tell you right now, I put in a lot more hours than I ever did when I did have jobs, because I've had jobs before. I've worked in IT support, IT consultancy. I've worked on support for large format digital printers. I've worked on just like in an office, again, more IT consultancy job. I've done a ton of jobs. And it's like, one of the things that I will tell you about having a job versus being a content creator, it is so much more freeing to have a job, which is really weird, but it is so much more freeing because, like, you get to that 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. depending on when your job ends, and you're just like, done. You go home and you do whatever the fuck you want. When you're doing what I'm doing, what he was trying to do, it never stops. When you're home, your mind is always thinking about it. Always like, you should be working on this. You should be working on that. You should be doing research on this. You should be doing research on that. You got to think about the video that you're going to put on the channel next. You got to think about this thing that's going to be coming up in like a week or so. You got to be thinking about this. Got to be thinking about that. Like, your brain never stops. It just doesn't stop. You're always thinking about the next thing that you got to work on. So, is it great? Yeah, I love doing it, but I'll tell you what, it takes a significant toll on your mental, for sure. A lot of people underestimate how much of a toll this shit takes on your mental. It's wild. When you're home from an honorable job, you throw the phone away in your shoes and fuck it, it's me time now. Yeah, I miss those days. I miss those days, dude, in a way.
Now we're here, 9 months later. I understand all of this YouTube stuff was a beast of my own creation, and largely I will fully acknowledge it sounds pathetic with it being that controlling over me, but it had that control over me, and it's something that severely skewed the way I experienced the game and interacted with it, and one of the things that factored into my eventual just outright quitting.
Post-Endwalker nothingness.
I'm gonna be brutally honest, and will not elaborate any more on this for the time being. I loved Endwalker overall, that much has to be said, but I found that in many ways it was very underwhelming to me in lots of aspects. I'd gotten way too caught up in the hype machine to the point where I should have known it would never live up to my expectations, but I also expected more out of the story and the way it was written. Overall, it was great and I did love it, but that ending sequence... yeah, the final act left quite a bit to be fuck. Yeah. That final act left quite a bit to be desired in my opinion, and could...
Wow, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I love the final act. Like, I even fucking, like, no fucking lies, just like keeping it real. I fucking cried on the final bit as you're walking up the steps and you see the ghosts. Like, holy shit, dude. Story was okay-ish or even lackluster. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Like, I've said it multiple times. In my opinion, it is the best story, like the combined all of the expansions. It is the best story that I've ever experienced in any form of media. That is my opinion of Final Fantasy XIV. Jesus, 4 out of 10? Really? Wow. I mean, hey, you know, to each his own. I know that a lot of people didn't like the actual ending fight, not Endsinger, the thing that comes after it. I know a lot of people didn't like that. I was like, I was all right. You need to consume more media? No, Mr. Tummy Giggles. If anything, I need to consume less media. I consume too much media already. Shadowbringers was way better. I mean, like I always said, it's hard to make the comparison for me between Shadowbringers and Endwalker because, like, you don't have an Endwalker without a Heavensward, without a Stormblood, without a Shadowbringers. Like, Endwalker is the culmination of the whole thing, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I love both stories. I don't know if I could pick one, Shadowbringers or Endwalker. But I'll tell you what, I definitely like Shadowbringers more than any of the other things that came before it.
Have been vastly improved with a couple changes to make it far more impactful and consequential, but I'm not here to debate or poke holes in other people's writing, at least not right now. Anyone who watched a stream of mine in the early part of this year knows how I feel about it and what I wish they had done. Anyone who has been in a Discord call with me in the last 9 months when FF14 has come up has heard my rant about how they should have made the character deaths permanent for the purpose of closing character arcs properly. But that's not the, it's not the point of this video. Endwalker just kind of left me feeling meh. Not really like I'd experienced anything absolutely extraordinary. I'd enjoyed it, but unlike Heavensward or Shadowbringers, it didn't put me in a state where I felt like I had to contemplate a lot of things. largely because I felt burned by many of the decisions made in the narrative of the Ultima Thule sequence. It had its moments where the section was incredible, don't get me wrong, especially right before the last dungeon, like the scene right before it, but I just finished with kind of an emptiness. I occupied myself for a good while with all the new endgame stuff, which I have to say was great, but I kind of felt like I didn't have much to do after running Hydaelyn and Zodiark many times over and doing some more exploring. For the first time ever playing the game, now free of the hellish content cycle I had put myself into, I found myself wandering aimlessly and not having any fun or really seeking any greater goal.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You just need to, in my opinion at least, you just need to like, look, don't bog yourself down to just playing one game forever. I've been down that rabbit hole. I played World of Warcraft way more than I should have. Like, just play games while they're fun and then take a break.
I'd largely just lost interest in what the game had to offer me at that moment. Plain and simple. If I was smart, I would have realized that then and there and taken a break accordingly. But I pushed forward, looking forward to raiding with my new static that I had put together with my viewers when the first tier of Pandemonium came out. My Asphodelos static was pretty good. I like all the members and considered them all friends, thus the way it ended and falling apart in the end was very upsetting to me. And I don't like just friendships or things that I enjoy doing fizzling out and coming to an end. I'm not going to go in depth beyond saying that there was an issue we should have addressed within the group sooner, and by the time we did deal with it, it was simply a case of
guild drama!
Too little too late. Unlike my first ever Statics Implosion, which was actually the first video I ever made to see any true traction, there was no drama or random bullshit with this one. And unlike with my first group, I miss hanging out with this group terribly and wish that I was still around them to this day. When things were good, there were some of the best moments I've ever had interacting with people in 14 or any online game in general. But due to slow progress, which wasn't a huge deal on its own, but also the gradual emergence and worsening of said issue we failed to address, team morale was dropping, and it was dropping quite fast. I mean, it was a slow fall at first, rising every time we got past a major roadblock in our prog, but it eventually entered a free fall that we really couldn't stop. Things were past the point of help. I would have at least liked to have tried to do something before it was too late, if my morale...
It's important to mention that this is one of the reasons why I kind of feel like you can't, whenever it comes to doing a static or a raid team or a guild or whatever, you can't be, how should I put this? You can't get upset if somebody kicks you out of a group because your performance is not good enough. You just can't do it. It's like, oh, I thought we were friends. It's like, what do you mean? We are friends. No, you're kicking me out of the group. No, you can't. You can never look at it like that. That's something that I learned very quickly in World of Warcraft, because that way lies nothing but like, look, you have to look at it like this. There's a group of people. They all want to achieve something. If somebody in that group is not putting up the adequate performance, then, you know, that person being kicked out should not be a big deal. Should not be a big deal at all. And that's just something that people need to take into account. Like, look, I've been kicked out of raiding groups before, even by Q, who hangs out in the stream often and is currently the raid leader of our static, because it's just that simple. If you don't, and that's one of the things that I like about Q, which is like, look, he'll just tell it to you straight. It's like, look, hey man, your performance is shit. And he gives you some time to fix it. If you can't fix, you get kicked out. Just like everybody else. It's just like that. Don't be sorry, be better. Yeah, you won't kill anything if you keep bad players. This is true. A static is a business relation. It doesn't have to be just like a business relation, but you definitely have to bring performance to the table. It's that simple. Trailing for a static is not only them testing you, it's also you testing them to see if you could trialing for a static. Yeah. Guys, what Ruri is saying is that he kicked you all from the static of Final Fantasy XIV. No, because I said from the start that I'm not the leader of the static. See, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that I instantly said, because I know that I wouldn't be a good raid leader. I've raid leaded in the past, so I know I wouldn't be good at it. So instead, I found someone who's good, and I was like, "Hey, listen, he's the boss. If he kicks me out, he kicks me out. If he kicks you out, that's your problem. It's that simple." You still shouldn't be wasting people's time, and you shouldn't waste your friend times, especially. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened in his group. I'm just saying that, like, look. People need to get out of this thing where it's like, well, I'm your friend, so we have to play together, because it doesn't work like that in MMOs. It's like, yes, you try to play together with your friends, but you need to be playing on the same level as them. If you are someone who wants to play more casually, don't expect to be playing together with your hardcore friends unless there's activities that support both the hardcore and the casual people. It's just that simple.
Morale wasn't also at an all-time low. Because of everything, I had slowly grown an actual contempt for playing the game, like a straight-up hatred of it. Wanting absolutely nothing to do with it outside of the 2 days I would log into raid. I kept hoping that the problem would eventually just go away on its own, and then I was very hopeful once we finally dealt with the problem, but then the rest of the static folded like a house of cards in a strong breeze, and well,
oof.
Yeah. That happens with statics, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
God damn it. With the static gone and a still very avid contempt for playing the game at that time, I just left. I logged out one day and canceled my sub, just wishing to be done. This was sad for me, actually, because I was really enjoying playing Crystal Conflict, which had just launched at the time. And if things had been different, I guarantee I never would have actually stopped playing and would have just become absolutely obsessed with Crystal Conflict to the point where it consumed my entire life more than 14 ever had before. But my enjoyment of it wasn't enough to counteract everything else going on in my brain when it came to playing the game. Those were a few of the big reasons I decided to quit the game. There was a myriad of other smaller things, of course, like my hatred of how much stupid drama was constantly floating around the community at any given moment, but other than that, it was really nothing of substance. Free of the game as well as content creation, my extended break from the game these past few months truly began. And you know what? I had what is probably the best summer of my life and didn't miss playing 14 in the slightest. No longer putting all of my free time into the game, I was actually able to return to the other interests of mine. Namely, I finally got back to writing in full force, now having gotten about halfway through writing a novel that I've been toying with the idea of for years. And I'm
nice. You got some stuff done. That's good. By the way, guys, where can I buy the duplicate the relic duplicates? Because I can't seem to find it here. I don't know where I'm supposed to go and get them. Because I want to buy the dupes of the relic.
I'm really happy with it so far, and hopefully I'll be able to get that published at some point in the future. I worked out in the woods at a summer camp that I went to as a kid throughout the entire summer. And I learned a whole hell of a lot from that experience and achieved the goal I've had of working there, and I've wanted to do that since I was there for the first time many years ago. But with the summer over and life returning the way it normally is for 3 out of the 4 seasons, I find myself actually really missing making videos, and the passion that I once had for it is flaring back up. Something that I feared I would never regain after how draining the last time around was. So yeah, I'll be back to making videos from now on, but there's still one key question in all of that.
Will I return to Final Fantasy XIV? Well, if you return, you didn't quit.
So, will I ever return to FF14 and making videos about the game? To some, those may be one and the same, but to me, they are very different things. I guarantee that I will return to the game at some point in the near-ish future, though not quite in the same way or capacity as I was.
Good music.
When I come back, it will be at first
choice,
to just sink my teeth into 6.2, going through the story and added casual content, but steering clear of raiding for quite a while and not spending all too much time in the game in general. I may slip deeper and deeper into the game and giving it more of my time as time goes on, truly playing it like one would normally play an MMO, but I'm not about to simply throw myself into the deep end right away after such a long break. The only reason I would come back is simply because I'm intrigued as to what I've missed, and I miss just being able to run around and like an idiot and chill out in those familiar environments and cities.
Yeah.
I don't feel the game calling to me or trying to pull me back in or anything, and this time around, I really want to foster an actual healthy relationship with the game that doesn't just become a self-destructive one. Will I return to making videos?
You should, whenever you're playing a video game, you should foster a healthy relationship with any video game that you play. You should avoid, like, you know, getting to the point where, like, oh, I'm playing because I have to play. I need to play this.
Videos about the game? Well, that one's more complicated. The videos I made around the end of Shadowbringers were largely purposed as to tie up any and all loose ends that I had left on the channel, and so generally I think everything is in a good place. Any series I had going got wrapped up at a solid point. I had covered every piece of the MSQ in depth up to that point in time. My one-off videos that were relevant to the expansion that was ending were all out, and I finished 2 of what was meant to be a trio of Shadowbringers send-off videos, but the third one just kind of died. As of this moment, there doesn't really feel like there is anything that I could make a substantial video out of that isn't just cut out gameplay from a stream or recording. Except for one video that I know many people were looking forward to, that being the Endwalker entry into my So I Played FF14 series. That video I can say for sure will be happening at some point in the future, that I will promise, but I don't have any idea as to the exact timeline of that. As for any other FF14 videos, I don't have anything planned at the moment. But I'm certain that the moment I get back into the game, there will definitely be a thing or two I do want to talk about and will end up making a video about. Hell, knowing me, the minute I get back into it, I will probably make a video about how they screwed up the ultimate duel sequence, in my opinion.
Oh, God.
I'm sure that one will be one that I definitely don't get any backlash on whatsoever.
No.
People in FF14 love when the general opinion is questioned.
Yes. They love it. They adore it.
Oh, God. If there's only one FF14 video actually planned at the moment, what's the rest of the plan? How often are videos going to come out? Well, I'm so glad I asked myself that question in a way that is supposed to make it look like you asked me. Well, FF14 content will still be a staple of this channel, since I'm no longer trapped in my own self-hell of constantly trying to make some new video about FF14. I am basically just going to make videos on whatever the hell I feel like making, regardless of how it does in terms of numbers. As I am.
This never works, by the way. The whole thing of I'm just going to make videos about whatever the hell I feel like making. It never works. It's like I've probably said that a bunch of times. Never works. Sorry. Sorry for the bad news.
Now I really don't care about trying to make a new video that does well week to week, which is an incredibly liberating feeling compared to where I was before the 8-9 month break. There were so many video projects that I wanted to make during that time where I was constantly working on an FF14 video that I just didn't get to do, and that really sucked. Those projects I didn't get to do are now going to have a far higher chance of actually going to see the light of day, whether they be bigger FF14 projects like I talked about that got canned, or just other projects about other things. I know for a fact I want to do a few videos revolving around a couple different Zelda games, and that has always been my favorite game series. I am literally wearing a Zelda shirt as I am filming this. I want to make videos about other games that I absolutely adore, like Xenoblade Chronicles X or Nier Automata. I want to make a video capturing me taking part of the NaNoWriMo challenge in November. I want to talk about other forms of media like books and shows or just anything else. I might even make a video or two explaining different literary concepts or narrative components and how they work if I feel like it, which honestly, to me at least, sounds like it could be fun, but that's just being an English nerd. Really, I'm just going to make videos about whatever I want, whenever I want, and make sure I never end up trapped in that content machine again. Speaking of which, how often will there be a new video? Well, who the fuck knows? I'm not going to hold myself to any deadlines or be down on myself if I go too long without uploading, but I'm going to try and get at least one decently high quality video a month posted. So yes, you can expect more FF14 content and the Endwalker video specifically, but also other things that I hope you'll enjoy, but videos that I am at the end of the day going to be just making for me. A philosophy that I had when I started making videos, and one that I never should have lost sight of. But that's all for this video. That's why I quit FF14, why I'm back, and what I plan to do. For those who have been around my channel for a long while and cared about my content, thank you. I really do appreciate the continued support. For those of you who have inevitably found my channel for the very first time through this video, welcome. It's a weird place to start, I know, but I hope you enjoyed this one nevertheless, and will stick around for the ride to come. If you don't want to see anything I do in the future, well, you can always dip back into the purely FF14 content I did in the past and simply pretend that's all I'm still doing. There's a solid 70 or so videos and easily at least 24 hours of content to sift through. It's a completely viable option, though one I have a feeling will be a lot less fun with the way I'm planning to shake things up. So long for now, everyone. My name's Lokidum. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon.
This was a very interesting video, a window into someone quitting the game. But it's like, I find it interesting that at the end of it, he's like, oh, but I might return. Well, you didn't really quit then. It's a little bit of a clickbait, but yeah. But this definitely plays into something that I want to talk about later on the stream, where we'll be talking about this mentality of like having just one game, and this one game needs to fulfill your every single need. Where I don't think that that is a healthy approach to video games, because there's never going to be one game that fulfills your every wish. It's just never going to happen. That's just the way that these things go. But anyways, those are just my thoughts on that. Feel free to go ahead and check out the video. I linked it. Leave it a like. And also give it some watch time. Like, let it playing in the background or something. Don't just go in there, hit the like, and leave, because that is actually bad for the algorithm, as you guys should probably know by now.